So in our previous session, we have seen the creation of classical report, interactive report. As a part of interactive report, we have seen various statements like double click functionality we achieved through hide statement and also get cursor. And yesterday we have seen a scenario where user place the cursor on the vendor. It should fetch the data from the vendor table, that is LFA1. But yesterday we did not get the output because the reason is if I go to LFA1 table, 7. So here the listener data element is LIFNR. And if I go to EKKO table, like based on the basic list output, I'm fetching the data from the next table, right? So here, if so here listener data element is different. So that is the reason we did not get the output. Because here we are fetching the different value because it will fetch the data element. It won't see the field. Even though the logic, everything is correct, it is not fetching the data from LFA1 table because of this reason. So I have written other code. So I added one more field to show you the get cursor method. So I have added a field customer number in EKKO table. And based on the customer number, like whenever user double click on customer number, it will fetch the data from KNA1 table, customer master table. And unfortunately, we don't have the data for customer number also in EKKO table. But I can show you the secondary list. So I just added the logic, like instead of here listener, I have written Kunal. So instead of listener in yesterday's code, I have written Kunal and I'm fetching a single record from KNA1 table. And these values, we already know how it returns, like LV, F value, LV field value, we discussed in the previous session. And it will be displayed these three details. But as of now, we cannot see Kunal number. I checked in the table, it is empty. So if I execute, suppose if I double click on purchase document number, it will display the data from the item table. So same purchasing document number. Suppose if I place a cursor, if you see customer number is empty because in EKKO table, this column is not filled. So if I double click on it, anyways, you can see it is going to the next screen and it is writing here empty value and here Hyderabad and name. So whatever the fields I have taken, that is displaying here. But as of now, this is empty in EKKO table. So we cannot see the data. So always remember, if you want to fetch the data in the secondary list based on the column wise, we can prefer get cursor method. Or else we can use a system variable, this system variable, or else we can use hide statement. So if there is a scenario where user want to see multiple secondary list based on various columns. If user click on first column, it has to display something in the secondary list. If user click on the second column, it has to fetch something and display in the secondary list. If that is a scenario, we can go for get cursor. Or else we can use hide or else this system variable. So anything is fine. So this is about interactive report. And uh, at the time of classical report, I told you under at selection screen, we have various events. At selection screen output, at selection screen on field and value request. So from this, I will explain today one of the event at selection screen output. Okay, so I'll explain this event and also we'll move on to the next topic that is ALV. So ALV stands for ABAP list viewer or application list viewer, which is used to display the data in the form of report. So till now we have learned classical report, interactive report. So those two reports we have displayed with a simple write statement. If you look at the output, that is a simple write statement. Like whenever I execute, it is a simple report where we don't have any additional options like sorting, filtering. Suppose if user want to download this report, he cannot download it. So I need to write the logic manually. Suppose if user want to uh, sort this purchasing document in ascending order, then I need to write the logic separately. So that code yesterday I have written as a part of a user command. So those things we are writing additionally in the logic. But if we have ALV report, suppose if you are displaying the form of ALV report, automatically we will be having some additional features like sorting, filtering, and even you can summarize the amount columns and you can hide few columns. You can change the layout. So those all we can achieve with the help of ALV reporting. So ALV report in the sense, like whatever we display the data, that data we will display in the form of grid or list. If user want to see a grid format of the output, then we can able to create ALV report. So depends on the requirement, we can choose either classical report or interactive report or ALV report. So whenever we get the requirement, we will be knowing like in the functional requirement, they will specify it should be in the form of grid. Output should be in the form of grid. Then we can go for ALV report. So maximum user will prefer ALV report only because with ALV report, we have additional features, inbuilt features like sorting, filtering, hiding the column, summarization. So these all we can get with the help of grid. So grid in the sense it is in the form of ALV report. So to create this ALV report, we can use a few function models which are provided by SAP. So we no need to write the logic additionally. SAP is already created few function models. Just we can make use of those function models like reuse ALV list display, reuse ALV grid display, and reuse ALV hierarchical list display. And we do have some other function models, but mostly we use these function models. But to display in the output format, we use first two. We use ALV list display and reuse ALV grid display. So if you want to create a report in ALV format, we have two ways to creation. One is ALV with structure, the other one is ALV with field cat. So today we'll see ALV with structure. So ALV with structure is nothing but there is a scenario where you need to fetch all the fields data from a database table. Then we can go for ALV with structure. So by the name, by seeing the name, don't get confused. Structure in the sense here, ALV with structure in the sense, whenever you want to fetch all the fields data, then we will prefer ALV with structure. So here structure is not belongs to specific fields. ALV with structure in the sense here, it is belongs to all the fields in the table. So let's see practically. So here, relation of ALV report with structure. Save it and 1 second. So before writing the logic, first we'll see the requirement. So the requirement is we need to create a ALV report, which allows the user to select two radio buttons. So user can select two radio buttons to fetch the data from two different tables based on the input criteria. So for the first radio button, there is a different input criteria, and for second radio button also, there is a different input criteria. So input criteria in the sense, user can able to enter the input. So we'll see the requirements. So when it comes to the functional requirement, in the selection screen, we need two radio buttons. So selection screen in the sense, we need an input screen. So we have to create an input screen. So in the input screen, we need two radio buttons. So one should be display header details, the other one should be display item details. And so for header details, these two are the input parameters. Like user can enter sales document category and sales organization. These two are belongs to first radio button. And item details. So for item details, storage location. And behavior report behavior in the sense, if user is selected the first radio button, then it should fetch all the table data, irrespective of fields, all the fields data from VBAK table. And it should be displayed in the output screen based on this input selection. Suppose user has selected sales document type as C, and suppose your sales organization is 1000. So it has to go to VBAK table. In VBAK table, all the records which are belongs to this sales organization and this sales document category should be displayed in the form of grid. Suppose if user is selected the second radio button. So second radio button is here item details. Then it should fetch all the table records from VBAP table based on the storage location. Suppose storage location is there is a name with SA. So whatever the records are existed with SA, all the table fields should be fetched from the BAP table and it should be displayed in the form of grid. That is the requirement. And along with this, whenever user click on the first radio button, this storage location should be disable mode. It should be disable mode. So here I write disable mode. Or I can say inactive. So whenever user select the first radio button, only user can able to see these two input fields. This third one should be hide. So like that, we need to write the logic. So first thing, we will build from the scratch. So first we need input screen. So in the input screen, what we need? We need two radio buttons. So first we'll build this one. So input screen, for input screen, we need, here user want to enter single data, like sales document single value and sales organization also single value. So for single value, which input we can take it? Parameters. Yes, parameters. So parameters P. Before this, let me introduce one more thing. User want to see this input selection in a box. Whatever we are getting the input screen, right? So that should be in a box. So it's like a block. Whatever the input parameters are there, user want to see in a block. So for that, I'm creating one statement. Selection screen, begin of block. So it will be create a block in the selection screen. If you want to put all the input parameters in a block, we can write a statement, selection screen, begin of block, because we are creating a block. So block should be open, block should be closed. Like if you say this name is written within this box. So box is nothing but block. So it will be start here and it will be end here, right? So similar way, we can also create a block in the input screen. So for that, we are writing a statement, selection screen, begin of block. So you can give any block name. I'm giving B1, like block 1. So begin of block 1 with frame, title, text. And along with the block, user want to see something, some text in the block. So for that, I am writing title. So that title must be right in the text element. So text element, let me take see. And whenever we are using begin of, then it should be end of. So selection screen, end of block B1. So here block will be end. Block B1. So whatever the input parameters are there, you need to put inside this block within the begin of and end of block. So the input screen, whatever the input screen related title, like there is a block, I'm going to create a block. Within the block, I want to write input screen, like user can understand after seeing that input screen. Okay, this is for input screen where I can able to enter the input. So to understand easily for the end user, I want to provide a text within the block. So that is the reason I have written with frame title. So the title we should write under a text element. So as of now, I haven't written. Now I will double click on the text element. I will write the text. Or else you can go to text element and you can enter manually. So two ways we can do. You can write text 00. Then you can go to from here in the previous screen and you can select the text element. Then you will come to this screen. So here you can enter input selection. After that, activate it. So either you can double click on here or else you can choose go to text element. See, same screen it is appeared. So either you can use shortcut or else you can go to from the menu bar. And here I will write my input parameters. So first I need what is that sales document category? VBAK, VB types, sales document category. Let's open the table once. VBAK. And if I click on display, VB type. So sales document category, this one. So this is one of the input parameter. Along with that, VKORG. So VKORG is nothing but sales organization. So these two are input parameters for this table, VBAK table. So which displays a header data. Suppose if I execute. So this output is in the form of list. As of now, we are seeing the output in the form of list. Now I'll come back. I'll go to this program and here T VB type VBAK VB type. You can give data element, but I am giving here table name hyphen field name. Along with that, we need sales organization. So the field name is VKORG. Again, type VBAK field, sorry, VKORG. Let me save it. I'll check it. So as of now, I just created only two input parameters. And for that input parameters, I will pass the selection text so that user can understand. Here sales. Let me go to the table and let me check it. This is UKK1 not required. ST document category. So this one I will provide it here. And VKORG is nothing but sales organization. So once you provide the selection text, save it and activate it. come back and activate your program, execute. So now we can see there is a block. Upon the block, there is a title, input selection. So by seeing the screen, user can understand, okay, here I need to enter the input. This is for sales document category and this is for sales organization. So like that, we will create in real time. So mostly we use this block of the screen and we use this text element to provide the title inside the frame. So these all things we will do. So right now, I just created only two parameters, but I need one more parameter also, which is for storage location. For storage location, I need to fetch the field from VBAP table, LGORT. So I'll add it here, PLGORT type VBAP LGORT. And for this also, I need to provide the text element. This is for storage location. Activated and combined. So now three inputs are there. So along with these three inputs, I need two radio buttons. So in the requirement they gave, user want two radio buttons. So the two radio buttons, one radio button should be display header details. The second radio button should display item details. So first we'll create radio buttons. So to create radio buttons, again I'll use parameters. So radio button 1, so I'll take R1 and here radio button group. So to create radio button, we use the syntax this one, radio button name, radio button group, group name. This we already discussed in our previous sessions. And for second radio button, I'm giving the name like R2, same group. And once it is done, so activate. I'll provide the text for this radio buttons also because if I execute this one, user cannot understand what is meant by R1 and R2, right? So we need to provide the text. Even whenever we create a program, see there are some radio buttons, but here it is not visible like R1, R2, R3, R4. So there is a name for first radio button that is source code. So by choosing this radio button, we can able to create a program. So how we are understanding? By seeing the text of this radio button. Similar way, if user want to fetch the data from header table or item table, first user should recognize which radio button is for header, which radio button is for item. So most important one, we have to provide the selection text for all the input parameters. Always remember. And if you see, every radio button has inserted in a block. If you see, this is like a block. And block upon, there is a name, sub object. Similar way, I created. Like whenever I executed, if you see, this is a block. And here there is a name, input selection. Even SAP also, they followed the same set of statements when they have created various screens. So similar way we are using. So I'll go back. Where is our short? Okay. So first I'll provide the selection text. Go to text element and selection text. So for R1, it should be display header details. So that is sales document header details. Suppose R2 in the sense sales document item details. So this is nothing but VBAK table and R2 in the sense VBAP table. But user will understand based on the label only. So that is the reason we need to give the text. Once you give the text, activate it and come back. Activate the program once again. Now see, user can understand. If user select the first radio button, it should fetch the data from VBAK table. If user select the second radio button, it should fetch the data from VBAP table. But along with that, if user select the first radio button, this third input parameter should be hide. It should not be visible. Like there is a scenario or there is a business requirement. Whenever user has selected the first radio button, storage location should not be visible. So this field must be in active mode. It should be invisible. Suppose if user select the second radio button, it should be visible. So that is a requirement. Along with displaying these two header and item details, if user select the first radio button, third input parameter must be invisible. Invisible means it should not be appear in the selection screen. If user select the second radio button, then it should appear in the selection screen. So to achieve this requirement, we are using this event at selection screen output. So at selection screen output, this event is used to modify the selection screen parameters. Whenever you want to modify selection screen parameters dynamically, then we use this event at selection screen output. So this event will be triggered before calling the input screen itself. Because here we have a requirement whenever users select the first radio button, by default first radio button will be selected. So whenever it is selected, it should be hide. It should not be appear here. Meaning before displaying the screen itself, it should not be appear. So that is the reason we are using an event at selection screen output. This event is used to modify selection screen parameters. So selection screen parameters are nothing but whatever we are able to see in the selection screen, these parameters. If you want to modify anything, then we can make use of at selection screen output event. And so for that, and by default, here I'm passing default capital X. So by default, first radio button will be selected. So that is the reason I have used the keyword default. And whenever we are using radio buttons or checkboxes, if it is selected, meaning we have to pass the value capital X. Now I'll use at selection screen output. So this is the event which is used to modify the screen elements. Now, what is our requirement? I want to modify the screen elements, right? So to modify the screen elements, we have a structure which is provided by SAP. So the structure is screen. Let me close the screens. So we have a structure that is screen. Let's say click on display. So if you see screen, this is a structure and it is not started with ZRY, meaning it is a standard object. So whenever we want to modify any screen elements, so that you can able to modify with the help of this structure. So which is provided by SAP. In this structure, we have different fields, various fields like name, group 1, group 2, group 3. So various fields are there. So depends on the requirement, we can use these fields. So if I want to modify my screen, then I need to use this screen structure. So I have to use this structure that is screen. And I need to modify few elements. Like I want to modify a field LGORT which displays the storage location. So I want to disappear that field. If I want to disappear that field, then I can make use of this structure. If I go to the program, so this is the field which I need to modify. So I need to hide this one. So to capture this name, like this is a field name, or I can say this is a text, and here I'm entering the value. So to hide these two things, I need to loop it. To hide these two things, I need to loop it. So which one I need to loop? I can loop the screen structure, because we have a standard structure where it is capturing various field values in the screen, like which field name you are using in the screen. So that will be captured with the help of this field. And we'll discuss group little later. Okay. And active, mostly we use this active. Suppose if you want to uh, make this field as disappear, then we can use this active. So if you pass 0, it is inactive mode. If you pass 1, then it is active mode. So 0 in the sense false, 1 in the sense true. So this we'll see in the debugging mode. So let me go to the program. So if I want to modify the screen elements, first I need to loop it. So loop it screen. And let me write ending. Let me do activation. And in one more string, let me open the same program. So I'll put a breakpoint at 18 and I'll execute this report. So I'll choose desktop 3. Now, if I double click on screen, see this is a structure. In this structure, as of now, everything is empty. Now, I'll start processing this loop. So I'll do F5. If I do F5, let me write screen name. So it is started. And if you see, there is a word V block 1000 is there. So if I go to my input screen, so this is a block, right? So whenever I am looping the screen, so this is entire screen. I want to modify only this field. But if I want to modify this screen, first whatever exists in the screen, all those will be captured with the help of a structure that is screen. So to modify even one field, I need to loop it to go into this field. So it will capture everything, whatever existed on the input screen. So even I created a block. So that is also captured. If I go to this debugging, let me close this screens so that it is easy to see. Okay. So you can see block 1000 is there. First it is captured this one. If I double click on screen, see this is a block. And if I scroll down, it is active. Active in the sense it is visible to us. Right now, we are able to see a block in the input screen. So that is the reason active is written as 1. And if I do F5 again, so there is a text. If you see VB, PVB type, and here text is there, meaning after block, what do we have? So this one, this is the first one, block. And after block, what do we have? This text. So this text is belongs to parameter PVB type. So for parameter PVB type, I have written this text in the text element. So that is also written here. If you look at this one, see, this is a parameter and this is a text. You can see hyphen text is there. And if I do F5 again, next PVB type. So PVB type is nothing but the value which I can able to enter here. So it is captured event text and the value which we are able to enter it here. So that is also captured. And if I go to F5 again, after VB type, what we have in the input screen, PVKORG text. If I go to input screen, after PVB type, the next parameter is sales organization. So for this, I have defined the parameter name PVKORG. So for PQRG, I have written the text like this, sales organization. And the same thing has captured here. If you see text. Suppose if I do F5 again PVKRG, where we can able to enter the value. So this one, where we can able to enter the value, even this is also captured. And similar way, it will capture the storage location. Suppose if I do F5 again, see storage location PLOLGORT and here text. So text which I gave in the text element, that is also captured. And if I do F5 again, where we can able to enter the value, that will be also captured. Again, if I do F5, radio button, we can see R1. Even the radio button which I have given, that is also captured here. So these all I am identifying with the help of this field called name. So name is nothing but it is a unique identifier. So based on this field name, I can able to identify which screen is going to be modified. Even for the first screen element, there is some different name. And if it is a text, there is a different name. So every screen element is having different name. That is nothing but unique name. So that unique name you can get with the help of name in this structure. So in this structure, we have 17 fields. If I double click on the structure, we have 17 fields are there. In that 17 fields, whatever we required, only we can make use of those fields. Like to identify the screen element, right now we need name. If you see, it is captured the radio button 1. But in our scenario, what we need to capture it? We need to capture the storage location and we need to hide it. So how do we identify the storage location element name? With the help of this name. Because whenever I did F5, you have seen various names here of the screen elements which I have created in my input screen. So if you want to modify any screen element, then we need a unique identifier. So that is nothing but name here. So with the help of this name, we can able to write the logic and we can able to hide the screen field. So I'll do F5. So once again, so I need to write the logic, right? So to write the logic first, let me get the name from the debugging mode. So directly we cannot get the name. Always remember, if you are using name field, you need to get the name from the debugging mode itself. So here, let me take screen name. I need to hide storage location. So until get the storage location, I'll do F5. This is not belongs to storage location. So TVB type. This is VKORG, so not belongs to storage location. Again, I'll do F5. This is belongs to storage location. And in the storage location, like I want to hide this entire field, meaning I want to hide this text along with this field also. So two things I need to hide. So to hide these two things, I have to get the name from the debugging mode. So first one for the text, next one for the field. So this is for the text. I'll copy this one. I'll put it on a notepad. And also I'll do F5 again. So this one also I'll copy it and I'll put it on a notepad. So these two I need to use in the program. So that is the reason I have taken the name. So whenever you are using name, you should get the name from the debugging mode only. We don't have other option. But we do have one more shortcut that we'll see later. So let me come out from the screen. I'll remove the debug breakpoint and here I'll start writing the logic. So what is our scenario? Whenever user select the first radio button, by default first radio button will be selected. whenever user select the first radio button, this should be hide. Storage location should be hide. So first I will write this logic. So for that, so whenever first radio button is selected. So first radio button selected means how do we write the condition? Have you remembered? How do we give the condition? First radio button selected. If
R1 equal to X.
yes, if R1 is equal to capital X, meaning first radio button is selected. So if first radio button is selected, let me write this one after this. So if R1 is selected, then it should modify the screen. So how it should be modified? If screen. So screen is nothing but this is a structure. And in this structure, we have 17 fields. But we are identifying the screen elements with the help of name. In the debugging mode, we have seen the name. If screen name is equal to this one. So this is for storage location text. I'll copy this one and paste it here. Or again, screen name. We have one more value also, even for the field value. So if screen name is first one or this one, it should be hide. So that one I can write in a single quote. So whenever we are looping the screen, if the screen name is this or this, then it should not be visible in the output screen. So like that, I'm writing the logic. When I kept the breakpoint at loop screen and end loop, you have seen various screen names, but I want to stop whenever the screen name this and whenever the screen name is this. It should be hidden. So that is my condition. If screen name is this one or this one, then screen active. Active meaning it should not be visible. Whenever you want to invisible, whenever you want to make invisible of any field, you have to use a field called active. So if active is equal to 0, meaning invisible or deactivated or okay, or hide. So we are hiding a field. If you want to hide a field, then you have to use a field name called active. If you pass the value as 0, it is not appear in the output screen. Only two values are there, 0 and 1. 1 meaning it will be visible. 0 meaning it is not visible. Which is not visible? So we are giving this screen name. So whenever the screen name is this, it should not be visible. So that is the reason I am passing the value 0. And after that, we have to modify the screen because why we are modifying the screen? Because in the initially we have created these three parameters. But due to some requirement, we are modifying the screen. So whenever you do any changes in the internal table, we always use the statement called modify. Similar way here also we need to modify. Whenever you want to update any value, whenever you want to change any value in the internal table, we have used a statement modify internal table from work area, field name, field value, right? Similar way, here I am modifying the screen element. It is already existed, but I'm making invisible for one selection. So meaning I'm modifying the screen. So you need to write a statement, modify screen. Always remember you must write the statement because you are modifying the screen. Earlier, the screen has three parameters, but after that you are modifying the screen element. So that is the reason we have to use a statement, modify screen. And if must to be closed by end if, first itself I need to write if statements. If so here also one more if. Let me check if end if is there. If end if loop end if. Okay. So if R1 is selected, this will be invisible. And whenever R2 is selected, this should be visible. So again, I'll write the logic for R2. So same statement I'll copy if R2 is selected. So I'll just change. You can write else if condition, but I'm again taking simple if condition. Like if R2 is selected, same screen element, it should be active. Active in the sense visible. So whenever R2 is selected, it should be visible. Which one should be visible? This screen element should be visible. So to make it as a visible, I have passed the value 1 to the active field. So let me save it. I'll check, activate, and I'll execute. And sales organization. So, okay, let me come back. Whenever I have executed, by default, only two input parameters are visible. Even though when I selected the second radio button, third parameter is not visible. If you see, two parameters are there. Okay, whenever first radio button is selected, it should hide the storage location. That is correct. But whenever I'm selecting the second radio button, it should visible the storage location. But directly it is not visible because it is a part of that selection screen, right? So I need to do some action, like how you system will be recognize whether I'm selecting this or this radio button. System cannot be recognized. So I need to perform my action. So like enter. Now I'll do enter. See, storage location is visible. But this scenario, like user doesn't want to press enter or do any action in the input stream. By default, whenever first radio button is selected, it should be hide. Whenever second radio button is selected, it should be visible. It is working correctly. Like if I do the action, then it is working properly. Like if I select the first radio button and press enter, it is making visible of first two parameters. Suppose if I select the second radio button, again I'll press enter. So third parameter is visible. But user don't want to perform any action of this. It is working as expected, but also user doesn't want to perform any action. By default, whenever we select the first radio button, it should be visible two parameters. Whenever we select the second radio button, it should be visible three parameters without performing any action. So this we need to achieve it now. Because system is not recognizing which one you are selecting. This is a simple radio button. This is like check and uncheck. System cannot be recognized. Like if I select this one and this one, system cannot be recognized because I am performing on the input screen. So it needs some action like enter. So the system is recognizing. If first one is selected and entered, then it is making us invisible. If I select the second radio button and press enter, it is making us visible. But now user doesn't want to perform any action like enter and do all these things. So if user is selected first one, it should hide. If user selected the second one, it should make it as visible. So for that, we have to use a keyword. So that keyword is nothing but user command. Have you remember user command, or do we use anywhere user command in our previous sessions?
For custom buttons.
Yes, for buttons. So whenever we are interacting with any buttons or function keys, so system will be recognized based on a unique identifier that is function code. Like suppose if I click on activate, so when I click on this one, automatically a function code will be generated so that system will be recognized. Similar way, whenever I click on this one, like first radio button, second radio button, so I will create a function code. So as of now, there is no function code for these two radio buttons. Suppose if I create a function code for this radio button, so that system will be recognized automatically which radio button user is selecting. So let me reiterate again. It's like how we are interacting with the different buttons on the GUI. System is recognizing like whether I'm checking this program or activating or executing. Because I'm interacting with the buttons, whenever I will interact with these buttons, a unique code will be generated. That is nothing but function code. So based on the function code, system will perform the action. So already that related logic SAP has written for these buttons. But now for these radio buttons, there is no function code. So I will create a function code so that whenever I click on first radio button, a unique identification number will be generated so that system will perform the action. So for that, we have to use a keyword called user command. So whenever users select the radio button, at that time, system should recognize. If first radio button is selected, then it should hide the third field. If second radio button is selected, it should visible the third field. Now third field is not visible. Like based on the radio button, it should be visible, right? So I need to create a function code for the radio button. So by default, we are selecting anyhow the first radio button. So here we'll use a keyword called user command. And user command after you can give any function code. Like in yesterday's session, let me go to yesterday's program. I think this one. So if you see, I have created own functions, and if I drop down this one, so this is nothing but a function code. So based on this function code, I have written the logic like ascending I have given. So based on this function code, I have written the logic. You can see case come, which holds the uh, function code. And if you see, I have written the logic. I have sorted the internal table based on this function code. Like whenever user click on sort. So here I cannot write that button name, but I can write the function code. So with the help of this function code, I can able to write the logic. Whenever user interacted with that button, like whenever user has clicked on this button, automatically, whenever it is clicked, then system will be getting ascending as a function code. So whenever system is getting ascending as a function code, that related logic will be executed, meaning this logic will be executed because this is generated. Ascending has generated whenever user has interacted. Similar way, I want to create a function code in today's program. So for that, I have written user command, and here you can write any function code. So there I have written ascending. Suppose here I write, suppose I write COM, like command, like I have written COM. Now I'll save it. I'll check activated and I'll execute. So first radio button is selected, 2 are visible. Second radio button is selected. Now see, automatically 3 are visible. I haven't performed any action like press enter or something. So by default, whenever I selected the first radio button, 2 input parameters are visible. If I select the second radio button, 3 input parameters are visible. So how the system has recognized? Based on the function code. So I gave the function code so that if I press the first button, system will be recognized and it will be generate the code like whatever I have written. So first part is done. Only input screen I have written in this report. In this requirement, I have just written till here. So from here. So 2 radio buttons are created and for header details, the input parameters are created. Item details, input parameters are created. And now report behavior we need to do. Like we need to fetch the data from the database table. And it should be displayed in the form of grid. So if you want to display the data in the form of grid, we have to use the function models. As a part of ALV, we have seen these function models. So today I'll explain this reuse ALV grid display. So I have used a selection screen output. Let me write here to modify screen elements. And whenever you used any event, always remember use start of selection so that system will be recognized where to start the actual logic. Already I have used this event, right? So I have to use start of selection event so the system will be get a notify where actual process is going to be start. And here I will fetch the data from the database table. And here what is my condition? If first radio button is selected, I will fetch the data from VBAK table. Like I need to fetch the data from VBAK table and it has to be displayed. Wherever one is there, that is nothing but first radio button. So here I need to write the logic. Again, if R1 is equal to capital X. So if R1 is equal to capital X, right, and this. So first radio button selected means I need to fetch all the fields from VBAK table. So how do we write select query if it is all fields? Can anyone tell me? I want to fetch all the fields from the database table. So what is a select query? All fields,
Structure.
all fields. I need select query where I
Our
want to fetch.
star
Uh, yes, star.
Here,
Select star from. So if you are using star, this is nothing but you are fetching all the fields. Select star from VBAK into table. So after fetching the data from the database table, I have to store in an internal table. So as of now, I haven't defined internal table. Let me write data IT VBAK type table of. So here we are taking all the fields, like structure is nothing but we are fetching all the fields from the table. So same name I have given VBAK. VBAK. So we have a condition. Let me write the border. Where? So here we have a condition. We want to fetch the data from the database table, that is VBAK, based on input criteria of the header details, that is nothing but sales document category and sales organization. Based on that, it should be fetched the data from VBAK table. So can you tell me how do I write the condition here? Where we are fetching all the fields data from database table, but we have a condition based on the user input. Suppose user has entered sales document category as C. Only C related record should be displayed. Along with that, sales organization, which user has entered, only those two related records should be displayed from the table. So that is a condition. How do we write in the form of statement? Where where condition? How do we write where condition? If I execute, you can see these are the records, all the records from VBAK table. So I don't want all the records. I want document category which user has entered. If you see in the document category, this field, this one, if I scroll down, here C, A, B, D is there, H is there. So suppose if user has entered C, only these document category from this table should be displayed. Along with that, uh, let me choose the fields instead of like the settings. So you can choose the fields, whatever you want to display in the output screen. Just to go to settings, forms, format list, choose fields. You can deselect all, then you can select whatever the required. Suppose I'll select VB type and also VK watch reader. Select this one. So I will fetch the data which is belongs to suppose user has entered document category C and sales organization is 1000. So from this all the fields data, only user want to see those records which are belongs to document category as C and sales organization is belongs to 1000. So for this, how do we write the statement? So sales document category is nothing but VB type, sales organization. Mm, Sales organization is nothing but VKORG. So even you can see these two fields. So how do we give the condition? No one knows the condition? Yes. So that is the reason always I used to say practice, practice. Without practicing, you don't know which condition we have to give in the statement. From the internal table concept onwards, we are using where condition. But still you are not understanding how do we pass where condition. That's why I used to told you practice every day, at least 1 hour. So here the where condition. In this table, we are fetching all the fields, but we have a condition where these two columns, which user has provided the data, that should be fetched from the table. So these two column names we have to provide after where, like where VB type is equal to what we have given the parameter name PVB type, PVB type. And along with that, one more column also, one more input parameter also has created, that is PVKORG. So for that, we have a column name VKORG. So let me write here. And VKORG. So in the table, wherever VKORG is there, whatever the value user has entered, that will be fetched. Now earlier, after fetching the data from the database table, if I want to display in the output, how did I display? Which statement I have used after self-repeating? After fetching the data from the database table, everything is stored in the internal table. So how do we display this internal table data?
Internal table to work area.
So we are using loop statement to display the data, right? So whenever we want to display in the form of grid, instead of loop statement, we have to use function modules which are provided by SAP. So instead of using loop statement to display the data, we are using function module because this is our requirement where user want to see the output in the form of grid. So if user want to see the output in the form of grid, then we have to use this function module. reuse ALV grid display. So to use this function module, first I need to call the function module inside this program. So which option I have to use from here to call a function module? Do we have any option? How do we call a function module locally into a program?
By function group.
No. After creation of function module in AC37, we need to call locally. As I mentioned, user doesn't have any authorization for AC37 transaction code. So once you create a function module, we will call into AC38 transaction. After that, we will create a custom transaction code. So that will be given to the end user. So to call that function module, which is existed in SE37, we have one option to call into this program.
Pattern.
Yes, pattern. So in this pattern, by default, first radio button will be selected, that is call function, which is used to call the function module. So here you can enter reuse ALV grid display. So you should not enter any character mistakes. Suppose if you don't remember this name, like reuse ALV, then put star and take F for help. It will be listed out. After reuse ALV, how many function modules are there? Those will be displayed. So you can choose the relevant one. Reuse ALV grid. Oh, so many are there. Let me choose reuse ALV grid. So this one, reuse ALV grid display. So after entering the function module name, just press enter. So it will be called into the program. So from here onwards, we need to pass. So first you need to uncomment the exporting parameter. Like earlier, to display the data which is existed in the internal table, we have used loop statement and write statement. With the help of work area, we have taken at a time one by one record and we have printed in the output screen. Now everything is existing in this internal table. So this internal table has records. So this internal table data, we need to pass to this function module. So first of all, we need to know what is this function module, what are the input parameters, what are the output parameters. So let's see. To know about this function module, just double click on it. One second now. So let me save it. And if I go to importing, so here, as of now, just focus on this input parameter, I structure name. So I structure name associated type is nothing but DD02L tab name is there. So this is which returns the output table structure name. Suppose if I double click on this one, it returns the output table structure name. Suppose if you see tab name is nothing but table name. So which table structure you are using, that value can pass to this parameter, I structure name. So in our scenario, I have fetched all the table fields from VBAK table. So VBAK is nothing but it is a table name. If you see I structure name, it is associated to this type. This is nothing but table name, tab name. If I double click on that, you can see that short description is table name. So whenever we are fetching all the fields from a database table, we haven't created any structure in our program, right? Suppose if it is a specific fields, I can create a structure locally by using types keyword. But right now, I am fetching all the table fields data and I want to display in the form of grid. So whenever we are using grid format, we have to use a function module which is provided by SAP. So if you are using this function module, there are some mandatory parameters or there are some required parameters. So these parameter values, you have to pass it. Before you are passing these parameters, you need to define this parameter value in the program. How they have defined in the function module, similar way we need to define in our program. Even this word I have mentioned at the time of function module creation. If you don't recall anything which is related to function module, please watch that video. Whenever we call function module locally into a program, the parameters which are used in the function module, same associated type we need to define in our program so that there is no conflict. Otherwise, if you have used different type and you want to fetch the data by using this function module, it will give a runtime error. Even we have seen this runtime error also. So I'll go back. Where is I structure name? Here. So in this parameter, I will pass the table name. So which table first I'm selecting? I'm selecting from VBAK table, all the fields. So whenever you are using all the fields, you need to pass this parameter value I structure name. This is for all the fields. All the fields. Fetching. So whenever you are fetching all the fields, you need to enable this parameter. So by default, few are disabled. These are optional. So based on the requirement, we can uncomment it and we can pass the value. So this is the structure I given. Our records, everything is existing in this internal table. So if I scroll down, you can see there is a keyword tables. This is a tables parameter. Under tables parameter, there is a parameter which is came by default uncommented, meaning it is a mandatory parameter. So to pass this parameter value, so I need to pass this parameter value. Suppose if I don't pass the parameter value, it will give an error. You can see the statement concluding with end unexpectedly. I haven't written anything. So I have to pass this parameter value. So to pass this parameter value, first I need to know which type it is. So I'll go to tables. You can see T out tab. So the short text you can see table with data to be displayed. Someone has unmuted. Please go on mute. So, so T out tab is nothing but a table which is having the data to be displayed. That should be right under T out tab. So under T out tab, which value I need to pass? Table with data to be displayed. So which table is having the data or which table we are going to display the data. So that value I have to provide to this parameter. So in this scenario, this internal table is having the data. After fetching the data from VBAK table, we are storing in the application layer by using this internal table. So this one I have to pass to this parameter because it is having the data. And always remember uncomment exceptions. And you can write any message. Suppose if the above input is not there, then you can write any exception messages like no input found. Use class, message class. Always remember use message class. So this I have written for the first radio button. Similar way, I have to use for the second radio button. Else if R2 is equal to capital X, then it has to fetch the data from the database table, that is VBAP table. Let me write VBAP table. I will create internal table now. So I need IT VBAP type table of VBAP. And here the input parameters, what I'm passing here. Here I'm passing only storage location. So where LGORT is equal to P. What is my input parameter name? P LGORT. So after fetching the data from VBAP table, it will store in this internal table. So to display this internal table data in the grid format, again I'm using this function model. Let me use list display. So two function models are there to display. One is if you want to see in the form of list format, we can reuse ALV list display. Suppose if you want to see the data in the form of grid format, we will reuse ALV grid display. So two I'll show you. So that is the reason one I have taken grid, the other one I will take it as list. Again, uncomment exporting and pass the I structure name because we are using all the fields. So in the single quotes, use capital letters, give the table name, VBAP. And output is existed in IT VBAP. In similar way, here message, no data found. Type, you can display it as an error message or information message. Make sure exception should be uncomment. Let me save. Activate. I'll execute. Suppose here I'll pass sales document category C and sales organization is 1000. So when I choose the first radio button and I'll click on execute, it will go to VBAK table and whatever the records are existed with sales document category as C and sales organization is 1000, those will be displayed in the form of grid. See, output is different layout. If you see the output, this is a different layout. So yesterday, whenever we have used classical interactive report, you haven't seen this type of icons or buttons on the application toolbar, and also screen layout also changed, right? So this we are displaying the form of grid. So with the help of this one, user can sort ascending order or descending order. Sales document category. So without logic, directly by choosing these buttons, we can able to see. Suppose if there are any calculations are there, if user want to do totals, that can be possible. Like this is a total. See, it is calculated everything. So earlier, if we want to calculate any data, we have written the logic. And even if you want to sort the data, we have written the logic. But right now, without logic, just by choosing the options, user can do easily with various options. Even the screen layout also different from the previous screen. User can understand easily, like which column is belongs to which data. It's like a grid, like box, rows and columns. Suppose if user want to export this data and just one second. I think again server is down. Let's wait few more minutes. Okay, so this is the list format. If you see the grid format, how it is visible clearly to the end user. If you see the list format, somewhat it is not easy to recognize the field names and field values. So most of the times we will prefer this grid format only. Let me see. Okay. So if you want to download it, see, it is downloaded on the Excel sheet. Just I have pressed this option. Where is that option? Okay. So let me close this one and I will show you again. So if user want to download this data, just user can export into this Excel sheet, or if user want to download as an Excel sheet, just press this one. So it will be downloaded in the form of Excel sheet. Just now we have seen. So these are the additional options which are uh, getting with the help of reuse ALV grid display or list display. If it is a classical report, we don't get these additional features. But if it is a grid format or list format where we can able to get all the additional features, so those are as a part of ALV report. So user can easily sort it, filter it, and do the summation of any amounts. User can download it. So these are the options which we get with ALV report. So if it is a list, if it is a grid format, we can able to see clearly. User can able to see clearly, and user can adjust this one. Like if user want to adjust these field labels, user can adjust it. And if user want to change any layout, so they can click on change layout. And if they want to hide anything, suppose creation on, if they want to hide it. So here there is a button hide selected. So this will be hidden. Now you can see that was removed from here. Suppose if I choose list one, here let me give source storage location as SA. So whatever the storage location belongs to SA in VBAP table, that will be fetched and it will be displayed in the form of list. But here I cannot adjust the field labels. Like earlier, sales document, I used to drag the column. Now you can see I cannot able to drag it. I'm unable to drag it. So list output, it is not editable mode. If if you are displaying the data in the form of list, it cannot be editable mode. I cannot move left or right. But if it is a grid, it can be editable mode. It is a grid now. See, I can able to drag it and I can able to select it, deselect it. Suppose if I want to select, I can select at a time one row with the help of grid. But if it is a list, it cannot be editable. So it is not interactive. Always remember, list output is not interactive. We cannot interact with this list output. Suppose if I want to select a single record, it will be selected as an individual character. When I place the cursor, it is taking as an individual character. But when it comes to grid, it will be select the entire row. So mostly we will preferable grid format only. Even end user will see, end user likes to see in the form of grid only. But we have two functional models which are used to display the data, that is list and grid. But mostly we use grid only because of these screen layout which is user friendly. That is a grid format. So this is a way we'll create ALV report for all the fields. For specific fields, we have some additional steps. So that we'll see in the coming up classes. But if you want to fetch all the fields, then we will use this process. And this type of scenarios recently we have seen, like wherever the user has to select the first radio button, it should be invisible, the invisible one field. Whenever you select on the second radio button, it should be visible. So that is a scenario we have seen recently in our project. And I told you, instead of writing this name by seeing in the debugging mode, we have a shortcut, right? Because always Suppose if I want to hide a field, suppose here I'm using parameter, but if it is a select option, I will get one more name extra here. But for select option, low and high, two more values I will get. So whenever I'll copy from the debugging mode, by mistakenly, if I remove space or if I remove any character, it won't work this functionality because I'm hard coding the value. So this is not preferable. So that is the reason instead of using these hard coded values, we can replace with one ID that is nothing but modified. So we have a keyword called modified, which is used to, it is a keyword for the screen programming. We use that keyword that is modified, which is used to make the control of visibility of different screen elements. Either it can be visible or invisible, or if you want to select it or deselect it. So those are possible with the help of one keyword modified. Or I can say in the simple words, it's like a keyword which group the screen elements together under one common identifier. As I mentioned, whenever I want to modify the screen, I'm using a name, which is a unique identifier for the each screen element. But for this one field only, we have these many names, like two names are there. Suppose if it is a select option, for text one name will be, for field one name will be, for low one name will be, high one name will be, right? So four times I need to write the value by seeing the debugging mode. So instead of that, we have one more field which make it as a group for entire line. For this entire line, you can replace with one unique identifier that is nothing but modified. So here just I'll use a word modif ID. Suppose I'll write M. So modif ID M or M1. Let me take M1. So this is a unique identifier for this entire line. So even if it is a text, even if it is a field, everything will be identified with the help of this modified. Instead of writing various names for the same field, everything we are combining with the help of modified. Because whenever we are taking the hard-coded value from the debugging mode, sometimes we might be miss any character or sometimes we might be put extra space. So there is a chance. So to avoid those things, we can use a simple word modified, which make entire field as a group. So these all field name will be grouped as one name that is M1. So if I want to use that one, I'll go to if screen. So here we have an option group one. So as I mentioned, name after there is one more shortcut is there. I'll use that I said, right? So this is the one. So I'm grouping entire field with one group name that is M1. So that I can pass M1. So whenever we are looping the screen, if the group name is belongs to M1, then it should be invisible. Similar way here also, I will copy this and I'll write. I'll save it. I'll do activate and I'll execute. Same functionality, no change. If you see, if I select the first radio button, 2 are visible. If I select the second radio button, 3 are visible. There is no change in the output. But it is easy for us. Whenever we write the logic, it is easy for us. Instead of writing the hard-coded value from the debugging mode, just we have used one group name that is M1. Suppose if I put the breakpoint and if I show you screen, let me take screen name and also screen group 1. So I'll do F5. So now it is started. So for these, I haven't given any group for block which I have created. So you can see group 1 is right now it is empty, even if it is VB type also. So this is the name which we are identifying with the help of this field, right? So this is for sales document category. But where I'm going to modify at the time of storage location, LGORT in the next one. Now see, what is the name? LGORT. So with this name, earlier I have written the logic. If you see this hard-coded value, so with this name, I have written the logic. Now we can see it is associated to one group. I have combined to a group. I gave a group name that is M1. So for the first name, what is the name of the group? M1 only. Suppose if I do F5, now see, what is the field name? PLG word T. Suppose if I do earlier, I have hard coded this value. Now for this value also, I have assigned the same group M1. So instead of writing two different identifier names, everything I combined with one name, that is M1. So how did I combine? With the help of group 1. So this is a field name which is existed in the screen. If you want to combine and pass to a single value, then we can use group 1. So we no need to go to the debugging mode and check what is the name for each field. Right now, in our input screen, we have only 3 fields. Suppose if we have 10 fields, you need to go to loop statement. You need to check every time what is the name of the screen element. It is a lengthy process to get the field name. So that is the reason we can go for group value. So instead of checking in the debugging mode, directly you can assign to a group 1. Suppose if you have multiple groups, you can give group 2, group 3 also. So this makes easy to write our logic whenever we use at selection screen output. Either you can give name or else you can use group. But preferably use group instead of name because here we are hard coding the value. Generally, we don't prefer any hard coded value in the program. So any doubts still here? Today, two new things I have explained. One is displaying the data in the form of ALV report. The other one is this event, like how do we modify the screen element with the help of this event. So two new things I have explained in this today's class. This is the optional one, but even this is same kind of reports we have created too. So with ALV report, this kind of reports too we have created. So that is the reason I have explained this scenario. Any doubts?